What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, our Thursday afternoon show, brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. The Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook is an unbelievable experience, but you can also have a great experience on your phone by downloading the app today. Tons of Super Bowl props. You want to bet the Michigan State basketball game this weekend against Maryland. Whatever it is, the Premier League soccer, all there in your hand with the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Also, our Thursday show presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. That's just north of Frandor, near the East Lansing border on East Saginaw. Unbelievable place. Great vibe. Two different vibes. One menu. Great drink selection. Great place to post up and just watch football or watch basketball or have a beer with a friend, a date night, whatever it may be. My friend, how you doing?
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Did you forget my name, or?
I did.
Are you okay? Like, you were running around here like with your head cut off.
No, sorry. I had an interview to do on demand a little bit on Trey Holloman. Doing a feature on him for next week. And one of our listeners even wanted me to ask him about the comparisons to Wood Harris, the actor,
yes,
from The Wire and other things. And he has gotten that since he was very little, until we talked about it a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, he is. Even since he was like elementary school, people.
Well, that guy's been, yeah, that's true. He's what, 20, 21? So that dude's been around for a while.
Yeah, my guess, The Wire probably started before Trey was born. That's amazing how young these guys are now in certain ways. But, so yeah, he's heard it forever. And I told him, I said, there are worse people to be compared to. Like nobody would pick nobody's going to look at me and say
Ron Jeremy. See, that would be an insult.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. Like if it's that, nobody says, "Oh, hey, the next Robert Redford." There's, but you once got it. You were a fat John Mayer, right?
I got a fat John Mayer in an altercation at a diner. A guy said, "You look like a fat John Mayer," and I was like, "Thanks." It kind of diffused the whole thing. It was awesome. I'll take it.
Yeah. Look, I'm good with that.
You look like John Mayer got into a car accident. It's just whatever. I'll take it.
It's really about the name of the movie star. It really doesn't matter the rest of it because
if I have a glimmer of John Mayer, I'm in. I'm down.
Right. If you were to call me an obese Robert Redford, all that would mean is that I just
Rotund.
had to lose my 3 chins. Maybe get some other things going for me. Better haircut. Although I would never do that. Melissa, my hair is not my problem. I apologize for that. She's fantastic. But I must be her worst client, too. Like, everybody else comes in with great hair, and she does all these fancy stylists, and my dumbass walks in once a month. And
do you talk too much?
No, I would think I'm a pretty
I let whoever's doing my hair just, if they want to start a conversation, I'm in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I know I've known her for 10 years, so that
cool.
helps, too.
Does she listen to the podcast?
She doesn't, but, we've had people from the podcast go, this is a bad start to the show when I start talking about my hair.
It's all good.
Hairdresser. My hairdresser, like I have a hairdresser. We'll fix this in post.
Might have to, actually.
Yeah, we'll fix this in post.
Yeah, it's fine.
Anyway, we are going to dig into your Groovy Donut Twitter questions here momentarily. Some really good stuff. I think it's going to be a fun conversation on MSU basketball, some MSU football, the Lions, some of life shit, and all the usual stuff that we dig into. Jason, first, is there anything that you are betting this weekend on this bye week before the Super Bowl?
I have to say I am taking this week and next week off
until
the Super Bowl. I lost a lot of money on the Lions game, and it was a heavy swing to where I just have there's nothing. It happens from time to time, right? Where you just have to take a week and a half, 2-week break. If I would have won if the Lions would have won that game, we would be dancing this weekend. But, you just sometimes – I don't have it in me.
Yeah.
I haven't really hit a college basketball parlay, and so Super Bowl bets, next week, sure.
Yeah, and we'll have Harry on next week. We'll do the props. We'll do some fun stuff and get ready for it. If there's a game I like this weekend, and I have not been hitting it as well on my Premier League stuff, but I do like Liverpool on the road Sunday 11:30. The pick'em is plus 120. That means if they tie, you get your money back. The money line where you need them to win is plus 198. I wouldn't hate that either. I think they're better than Arsenal right now, and I know it's on the road, and most of the betting podcasts I listen to are saying not to do this, but I really like Liverpool.
What about the young
Arsenal.
boys of Atlanta?
They're playing somewhere this week. I haven't looked at the line. So that's what I will be betting. Presented by the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Do you want to dig into these groovy donut Twitter questions?
Or we can talk about your hair more. Either way.
Sorry.
Eric Schultz up first. Do you think the pessimism about the Lions is more due to the SOL Saul mentality, or the fact that the odds of having Goff, Gibbs, Montgomery, Sewell, St. Brown, Hutch, and Laporta, all relatively healthy again for a playoff push aren't likely? For me, that's the reason.
It's depressing, but Eric thinks like I do in certain ways here.
But what about the Kansas City Chiefs? Year after year, they've been to the AFC Championship game. Like, I understand injuries, but I feel if you keep Goff healthy and you don't have a run of injuries, you can get back there.
But they have the running back, Pacheco. They have a great offensive line. The bulk of their defensive line, and they're all healthy is what I'm saying. He's saying, what are the odds these guys are all healthy? This is why I don't know. I would either be the greatest out-of-the-box general manager or the worst ever to live. But I would not play both running backs all season next year. Not bench them both. What I mean is I would stagger them. One might not play till week 8, week 10. The odds that you're going to be healthy if you play everybody, you're right. It's just not great. I mean, I'll tell Gibbs, you know what, we're going to play in week 10.
I just feel if we keep Ragnow healthy, we keep Goff healthy, I think that we could do damage. I don't know.
I know I'm not pessimistic though, but when
I'm just trying to be positive.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I just have to be. Next one from Eric. Why is it when Dan Campbell makes a 50-50 decision, Couch has no problem ripping him for it, but when the coach of a program he is paid to write opinions on makes indefensible roster decisions 2 straight years, he hems and haws for 1.5 seasons before definitively saying it was wrong?
This is a really good question. And this happens. This is a criticism that a lot of writers who cover a lot of teams get it. Like James Edwards gets this too. Like James will now James is not paid for his opinions, but people will just rip James for not ripping on Monty. And then in the middle of the MSU game, James is tweeting at me that this is saying this is the worst MSU roster he's ever seen. Like it's just very different than when he's in his professional mode. A couple things I'll say to this. One is, it is a fair criticism because if it seems like it probably is to some degree. Why this happens with me specifically and probably with other writers is that when you're covering a team, it's not that you're scared of that coach. Certainly Izzo and I have had our disagreements. He's been angry about me about stuff. I've written things he doesn't like.
Don't coach my team.
But you think of yourself as being sort of a reasonable voice of things, number one. But you also have more information and more understanding. And that perhaps speaks to where I shouldn't fly off the handle on Dan Campbell. Now, on this show, we're going to have opinions. That's what we're doing here. And I'm not as embedded with the Lions in terms of understanding what's happening day to day and why they do certain things.
But I don't think you went that hard at Dan Campbell, though.
I don't think
you were
I did
just
either.
expressing that you would have kicked a field goal at one of those times.
Agreed. And yeah, and with Izzo, it did with Sissoko. I think I've been pretty hard on Sissoko at this point. I have understood to a degree why he didn't go out and get a transfer center. And I held on to the idea that, well, if Kohler comes back and you could see it right away and that's what they saw or whatever. But the reality is there are too many good transfer centers, or at least several in college basketball, that would have made a difference on this team, and it would not have meant giving up on the 2 younger guys. And they should have known it with Sissoko, and they didn't. And that is a mistake. It is what it is, and it might have taken me longer to come around to write it because I also wasn't sure how much it was going to hinder them. Were they going to be okay at the position? And it's when you see them healthy against Wisconsin. Like the first time they play Wisconsin, okay, they don't have Malik Hall healthy. All right, we got to wait and see. But when you see them healthy against Wisconsin, get beat like that in the manner they did with the matchups they lost, you feel like you're educated enough to write it. And was I late to write that definitive column? I would rather be late on it than early with my actual job, but it is a fair criticism. I'm sure it seems like that, and I know it seems like that with a lot of writers who, with the team they cover, they are less likely to go in on something early. And the reality is they're probably handling that right. What they ought to do is be a little more careful on the stuff they don't cover and make sure they don't fly off the handle when they don't have the information or are, so there is some consistency.
Welcome to the blue wall.
Dominic next. Do you remember the last time Tom Izzo used his use it or lose it timeout before half and it didn't end in a rush 26-footer that was blocked? Me either. Maybe use that fucking timeout earlier when you were busy falling behind 9 points for no reason whatsoever. Or give Tyson a blow.
Yeah, I knew in the second he took that timeout right before the half, I thought, boy, what you really need right then is just your quarterback, your point guard to understand you're taking the last shot. I don't think you need the timeout there. I think they were in an okay flow at that potential moment. And sometimes I disagree with the last shot philosophy too. Like, to me, it's get the best shot you can. Now, don't take anything that's not a great shot before them, but keep it in rhythm. And if you happen to take a great shot with 12 seconds left and the other team gets another shot, so be it. Better to get one good shot and then have to play a little defense than not get a great shot at all. I generally think. But I'm sure there are analytics that tell you differently. Where I think you're really right here, though, is that give Tyson Walker a blow. The Tyson Walker thing is something to watch. He's a tough dude, going to play through things. He was kind of holding his groin area and grimacing, Not like you hold that. You hold your groin and grimace all the time, but different than you when you do it. And he's in the last 5 games, in 4 of those games, he's had 15 or fewer points. And he's shooting like 18 of 56, and his 3-point percentage is pretty low after a really good run for a stretch of about 10 games. And I do worry if he's getting beaten up and worn down. I think they have to be a little careful about that.
Damn groin, man. Dominic, with this one, I don't ask you for shit, Graham, but I want you to ask this question to someone important. Has fucking anyone thought to inquire that there is a direct correlation between Izzo not wearing a suit and the team not wearing the script jerseys and a shit-ass basketball season?
I've never asked this because I don't believe it to be true. I do believe coaches look better in suits, but it's not going to be. I have not thought to ask it. Maybe at some point. This question's been asked of Izzo, by the way, and it's been asked of other coaches. But Izzo has basically said, "This is what coaches do now, post-pandemic. It's more comfortable. He's happy being comfortable." I just don't see the correlation. If they had Cassius Winston and Xavier Tillman on that roster right now, and they had that 2019-20 team, and Tom Izzo was out there in a pair of boxer shorts and a T-shirt. Maybe not a great look, but Michigan State would be winning. I don't think they have anything.
Could you send Phil Friend in and ask those questions? Like, I know you don't want to ask it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would he do it? All right.
If people really want the suit question, I'll ask him the suit question.
Oh,
that's not a problem.
Promise you'll ask that.
I'll pick my spot, but I will ask it. It won't be like after they lose to Maryland. First question, front row. Hey, Tom, what's with no suit? And are you going to bring it back now that you can't play without it?
Don't coach my team.
Dominic, I don't have another question at this time, so can Jason just play a compilation of Cockburn's Peacock and Izzo stammering, then finish it with a bonus Cockburn?
Sure. Cockburn, free Ubers.
Absolutely. Fucking everybody masturbates.
What else did he want?
Don't
Peacock.
coach my team.
Oh, yeah.
Peacock.
Izzo stammering.
Right now, either you're stuttering or I'm not picking it up because it's a what. So.
Come on.
All right. Maybe next. Which local sponsor would you want? What?
I don't know. Maybe Pure Options would be good. Something like that. A little cannabis.
Yeah. What's the question?
That's just the question.
Which local sponsor would you? Oh, okay. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Hint.
We'll go Pure Options.
All right. Annie, next. Why does it feel like A.J. Hoggard and Tyson Walker don't get calls for contact at the rim as often as other teams? Are other teams that much better at defending at the rim, or do they need to do something different to get the calls?
Well, MSU is last in the Big Ten in by a ways and free throws attempted in conference play. So that is real that you're not seeing Michigan State at the line. I think some of it's a jump shooting team.
How about Northwestern? That was Purdue. That was pretty wild. Boo Booey didn't even shoot one free throw the whole game.
And there should have been a disparity that was quite severe because of the styles they're playing. And Northwestern was absolutely fouling Edey. Not every time it got called, but a lot of the time. And they said they were going to do that going in. But yeah, there's no question at Mackey Arena, and when you see it the disparity like that, it's not ideal. With Michigan State, there are times I think Walker ought to get it. And Hogard shoots a lot more floaters before contact, but Hogard's a big dude and suffers because of that in terms of calls. Like, he has enough strength and size to him that a lot of times when he initiates contact, he isn't bumped off his path, and I think that is one of the reasons he doesn't get a call. But Walker, I think Walker gets his fair share of calls, to be honest. I think that's and I'd have to look at in terms of team free throws, but it feels like he's at the line in terms of when it's deserved as much as he should be.
All right. Adam, next. Real question. Why do I still kind of feel like deep down that MSU is capable of stringing some wins together in the NCAA tournament? Am I that battered from football that I'm irrationally optimistic?
No, you're just
Yes, you are.
Well, you're right. Well, you might be battered. But all of this can be true. Is the answer.
Yeah.
Because they are matchup dependent. They are still very much the team that beat Baylor the way they beat Baylor. They're still the team that can get on a run and be really good. They're also a team that if they're up against the wrong opponent, can be in trouble. And so there are a lot of good teams in college basketball that don't have matchups that'll hurt them. And so that's what it is. And what they have to do between now and the end of the season is find a way to better counter the matchups that right now hurt them so badly so that they have a chance in a one-off in those games. Because, Wisconsin is going to be a bad matchup for Michigan State the rest of the year. But if they played Wisconsin right now, I think Wisconsin wins 8 or 9 of those 10. They played them 10 times. What you want to be by the time you get to the tournament is when you face the team that's a bad matchup, that you're at least winning 3 of those. And so in a one-off, you're in a better spot, and you know how you have to survive, and that's what they're hoping they can be. But if they get the right matchups, they could absolutely get to the Sweet 16. They could get to the Final 8, and you never know.
All right, next one from Adam. Graham, who was it that led MSU in rebounds in 1995? Not a legitimate question. I just enjoy moments where you have a name on the top of your tongue and need to hit Hoff. Jason, hit the Hoff. All right.
So
it's got to be Pep, right?
No, 95, he's gone. Pig Miller's gone. It's Jamie Fike, I'm guessing, if it's 94, 95. Let me look this up. Hold on. More of that. Yeah. Jamie Fike, 10 a game. There you go.
And you didn't look it up?
I just looked it up now. But I didn't look it up. No, I mean, that's you're talking about 15-year-old Graham territory. I remember that team well. You know how many – that team actually had a fair number of pros, too. I mean, that Jamie Fike played a pretty good stint in the NBA. Eric Snow obviously played a long time in the NBA, and then Respert was on that team as well. I mean, they had some good players.
What team did Fike play on in the NBA?
His longest stretch was the New Jersey Nets. I remember them playing against the Pistons a lot with the Nets. He played quite a bit.
Man, you got a good memory. Jarrett, who wins the 2015 MSU men's basketball team or this year's team at this point in the season?
I would take this year's team, and I don't know if it's all that close. What that team – I mean, the 2015 team, everybody remembers because of how it ended in the Final Four and that run starting in the Big Ten tournament and what Travis Trice was. That was not who they were in January. I remember writing a column at a game at Maryland in late January of that year where it was like Valentine and Trice hadn't even figured out that they were the main two dudes yet. It was not a good team. They were very much on the bubble at this point, and they didn't seem to have – we didn't know, like Denzel Valentine, the idea that he would be a pro and a first-round pick did not look like that at that point. That Trice would be thought of is a top 50 all-time Michigan State basketball player because of the run they went on then, that Forbes would eventually be an NBA guy. Like, they were not that team. And this team is I would take this team by quite a bit, and obviously be a neutral court because it'd be the Breslin. It'd be weird to watch the Izzo and try to figure out who to choose for, but I would go with this team.
Next one from Jarrett. If this MSU team had Goran Sutan and Delvon Rowe, would their problems be solved? And from Company Man, who is the ideal big of Izzo's past to complete this team's roster, and why is it Goran Sutan?
2 Goran Sutan questions in the same 2024 Twitter questions. That's a lot.
It's impressive.
Yeah,
and a Jamie Fike.
Yeah, we're all over the place.
Man, and haircuts.
Wow, what a show!
What a show, man.
The first of all, if they had Delvon Rowe and Goran Sutan, yes, their problems would be solved. I mean, if you remember Sutan at the end, and like the 2009 regional championship, that Sweet 16 and regional final against Louisville, he was outstanding. Yeah, and Delvon Rowe when he was healthy, yeah, without question, Sutan would be perfect for this team. And if Lorbach had stuck around too, somebody like that, but Sutan would be in a lot of ways the ideal guy in terms of scoring and defending well enough. And there are a few guys, but he wouldn't be bad.
By the way, speaking of old former players, do we have any update on the Hondo Africa video?
Oh,
the tape?
I need to work on that.
Yes.
I need to work on that.
Please, God.
But I did work on this a little bit. So Solari is the guy who can find anything. You don't want to be on Solari's bad side to the point that he wants to go looking in your digital archives of your life, because he will find anything. I mean, this guy was on the internet. Like he was internet dating before people were internet dating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when he was like 22 years old, like that.
Is that a compliment?
I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe we'll fix that in post. Maybe you didn't want me to share it. I thought of it as a compliment.
AOL Messenger.
I thought of it as a compliment. Yeah, mid-90s stuff.
That was his Tinder.
He was there, college kid. Anyway, I apologize, Chris. I hope that wasn't out of turn.
So we're never going to see this video now.
No. But anyway, I asked about him. He has only seen there is a small part of it, but I still think it's worth playing.
If it's 5 seconds, I'll take it. Come on.
I can get it to you in a break right now. We can do it in a little bit, or we can do it. Let's do it next week. We'll plan on it next week, and we will have the.
Boy, that went quick. It went from getting it in 2 seconds to wait till next week.
All right. Well, should we take a break and get the Hondo? Let's keep doing these. I will find the Hondo thing, and we will do it in a break, and we'll play it this episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it my birthday?
It is.
All right. Suburban Spartan Dad. Next, AJ joined a pretty elite list of MSU point guards who have 1,000 points and 500 assists. Lucas, Winston, Cleaves, Skiles, Neitzel, and a point forward in Valentine. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of MSU point guards?
Well, it obviously starts with Magic, right? Magic and Cleaves are there. Neitzel is not. It was Neitzel's best year. He was the 2 guard, and on that, I mean, he's a really good point guard too, but he's not on that Rushmore. Obviously, Kalen Lucas is in that mix as well. Cassius Winston. So they're 4 on Rushmore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's Lucas, Winston, Cleaves, Magic. No LL. That leaves Skiles out. Son of a bitch. Skiles has to be in there. So it's Skiles, Cleaves, Winston, Magic, and if there's a 5th, it's then you go to Kalen Lucas, I guess. Wow, that's a good group.
All right, C-Dubs next. Tyson Walker seems off. Do we think it's injury related or something else?
Yeah, I do think he's a little worn down. He's a little beaten up, and they need to make sure they get him right. And he's not a guy you can rest and still win, so that's a little bit of an issue. But yeah, I do think he's beaten up, and he's a smaller player, and teams grab him and. He gets beat up in those games. They need to figure that out.
Next one from C-Dubs. I agree the AP poll is flawed in both football and basketball. Is having a metric ranking in the net or in Torvik the better route? Will it eventually change?
It's a good question because the rankings, especially the predictive rankings, aren't perfect either, especially if they're predictive in a lot of ways. I wish what there were. There doesn't need to be a preseason poll. What I wish there was is starting in January, there was a poll, and it was a writer's poll, but it was not beat writers, and it was a smaller group of 30 people who really just watch hoops and retired guys, the Eblings of the world who are college hoops crazy. And this is what they did. And frankly, I would pay them a little bit for it too, so it's worth their time. Like, I don't know, that would be ideal. That would be my ideal situation. I don't think there is a good situation, and I don't think there will be a fix, and I don't think it's important enough to fix.
Craig Robinson up next. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being brutal, how watchable is the Big Ten Conference basketball nowadays? Outside of MSU games, I think I'm about a 3. I enjoy watching other conferences much more.
How much college basketball do you watch outside of MSU games these days?
I'll flip on a Big Ten game if it's Purdue or but honestly, I don't really start getting into college basketball until the middle of February, after the Super Bowl.
So that's a good yeah. So I mean, I feel a little bit the same way. I enjoy the Big Ten just because they're the schools that you grew up watching, and they're the league that I cover. Like, I really enjoyed Northwestern Purdue last night, but then right afterwards, it was Rutgers Penn State, and you go, oh my God. So it's not. I don't know if it's just. It is
on Big Ten Plus.
Nah, it was Big Ten Network right after. It was not great. I don't know if I enjoy other leagues more though. I don't watch a lot of other leagues in college basketball these days. Now that I don't have an AP poll, it's not something I do. I don't think it's unwatchable, but it's. I don't know. It's a different style certainly than the NBA. I don't.
But was it fun, watching that Purdue Northwestern game, watching Purdue shoot that many free throws? I mean,
it was a competitive game, and the way Northwestern was hanging in, I enjoyed the game, and so I didn't hate it. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people. It's not that enjoyable a product. What makes it a watchable product is that people care about the teams, and that's the danger in doing things with the sport overall that make people care less. Because if you care less about the teams, the actual level of play, the product itself, is often not high enough, I don't think, in any league to just watch as sort of a neutral observer. But yeah, I've heard other people say that. It's not, I don't watch it as much as I used to, and maybe that has something to do with level of play, but I don't know if that's it or just other interest.
David Jackson up next. Is Jesse McCullough the answer to MSU center woes for 24 and 25? If not, are we simply screwed yet again next year?
Well, no, and he's not really a center right now. So, no. But here's the thing I would say about this, is if you're hoping MSU gets a transfer or a guy who can help next year, it's probably not going to be a freshman. So then you wouldn't know anyway. Like, I've heard people say, what are they going to do at center? It looks like they're screwed. They're not doing anything again. Well, you wouldn't know now. That person hasn't transferred. That person they're going to get, if they're going to add a transfer, and I don't know that they're going to, but if they are, is still playing for a different team. They're not even in the transfer portal yet. They don't know who that is. I mean, who knows? There could be some back channeling, and they could have an idea of somebody who's going to transfer and somebody they're looking at, but that's not something that's going to be out there. And so that's the thing. The less you know means it's more likely a transfer. So if you want them to have somebody who's old and rugged and capable of helping out next year, you don't want to know right now, because a freshman is much less likely to be in that role. And maybe they haven't made that decision because they don't know what Sissoko is going to do. Now, I would argue Sissoko is not going to be much different than he is right now. They don't know exactly in Kohler and Booker and in Carson Cooper. By the end of the season, they evaluate where those guys are. My guess is they're constantly evaluating where those guys are. Are all those guys coming back? So my guess is the decision hasn't been made.
Next one from David. Does Ward Manuel come across as a do-nothing guy that, does nothing? Doesn't Haller seem to be far more effective?
Yeah, okay, this goes back to Eric Schultz's initial question about, criticizing people you don't cover and then being kids' gloves on people you do. Yes, it seems that way, but I cover Alan Haller. I've had numerous conversations with him. I know what his initiatives are. I know what he's trying to do, and so I just I've never had a single conversation with Ward Manuel. So while he comes across as somebody who's not that effective, that doesn't mean he's not. He's the AD of a program that just won a national championship in football, and had a pretty seamless transition to the next coach. Whether it works or not will be partly on him. We'll see what happens with basketball. They did have that situation in hockey that was kind of a disaster for him. I'm not the biggest fan from afar, but I've never had a conversation with the man, so I don't really know.
David Jackson and company man with this one. Should we be concerned about the athletic department money shortfall? Are there any implications, or is it mostly one-time events that won't reoccur, so the department is doing fine? Aren't Big Ten media rights increases about to wipe away everyone's problems, leading all schools to spend like drunken sailors? And from Cinemod, I always took pride in the fact that MSU was one of the handful of programs that operates in the black. Should this concern me as a fan?
So a couple things. One, I don't know whether it should be concerning. I haven't talked to Haller about it yet. And I don't think, one of the things that bothers me a little bit about the stories on the financial stuff like this is I don't think Haller had a comment in there. Like, I read that story, and the first thing I want is, why is this the case? Because sometimes there's an easy explanation. You can be budgeting, what looks like a shortfall one year is because something more is coming in the next year, and you planned for it, and it just on the line items that are foiable, and that's what USA Today does in getting these. It looks like more of a shortfall. So I really don't know. There is more money coming in, but they're also bracing for the idea that you're going to have to spend more in-house on athletes soon. So there's a lot of things that are changing. I'll put it this way. I don't think you should be concerned. Overall, Michigan State is very much one of the haves. They are a team that is a solvent athletic department. And in this new world where people or athletes are going to get expensive, where sports may go away, certain sports, because you're not going to be able to pay for them anymore, and things aren't going to be good a lot of places, MSU is going to be one of 30 programs nationally that comes out okay. Maybe more than that, but at least the top 30. And so I think you can sort of take umbrage in that. Though I have not talked to Alan Haller about the specifics of this shortfall or anything like that, so I don't know if there's an issue that's worth exploring. And it certainly, next time I talk to him, will be something I'll bring up.
Pigskin Scoop next. Alan Haller has made multiple coaching changes since becoming AD. Do you think MSU baseball will see a coaching change in Haller's tenure?
I hope not. I like Jake Boss. I'd like to see him succeed. I think baseball and softball at Michigan State is a hard thing to win based on facilities and based on, the freaking field's flooded half the time if it's not snowed over. Climate, facilities, is a hard place to win, and your expectations have to be relative to that. Now, you got to be competitive, and you got to be as competitive as teams who have similar situations. But you can't expect the world from MSU baseball. You can expect them to be competitive. Last year, they were competitive. What they were last year is what they ought to be at least more often. And they had a little bit of a rough stretch. I like Jake. I think he's a good coach, but there have been some runs that haven't been great for him. So I don't think he can have. I don't think he can have another 2-year dip. But yeah, no. I hope there's not another change, because you don't want you do want some people who have been there before to work out. Some people to be long-term coaches who. I think he's good for the program, or good for the school. People like him. He's well liked in the department. So the answer is I hope not.
Next one from Pigskin. Graham, have you met Jonathan Smith yet? If you have, what was your first impression?
Other than in group settings, press conference stuff, I have not. I look forward to soon. My first impressions of him otherwise is he sometimes speaks in a cadence that is very Yoda-like in terms of the sentence structure. He drops the word I before sentences. So those sort of things are fun. Like when you meet somebody new, that's what I'm always looking for. Sentence structure, different quotes. How quotable is this person going to be? And you realize that stuff as you're listening back to tape and transcribing. And but I think he exudes competence, which is important. I think he doesn't come across as overly brash or somebody who's about himself. But those are just things I'm taking from, first impressions from a little bit afar, and I have not met him yet.
Spartan 18770. Years from now, when we look back at the Jonathan Smith hire, what will be its last impression?
Well, it all depends on wins and losses. I just don't know. How can I answer that? I think he will get Michigan State football to a baseline, a pretty high floor. And I think that will be somewhat satisfying, not enough to like make people not angry when they don't do more, but that'll be relieving for a program that's hit some other floors lately. And so I think that'll be nice. The question is the ceiling, and I just have no idea.
Will he make the college football playoff in his tenure?
So it's a 12-team playoff. He has to. If he doesn't, he won't last. You have to now. Like, that's the thing. The thing about the playoff going to 12 is that a school like Michigan State, you have to make the playoff eventually to keep your job. Now, you might get 5 or 6 years to do that before it gets hot. And if you're nipping at its heels and you're ranked 14th, 15th a number of years and you're not quite there, maybe this conversation needs to be rehad. But ultimately, that's how all coaches at places like Michigan State will be judged moving forward. But yeah, if you had to put money on it, would you put money on him making the playoff in the next 5 years?
Ooh, the next 5?
Yeah.
What kind of plus money am I getting, though?
Even money.
Even money? Yeah, I would sprinkle. I'd sprinkle.
Yeah, I think it's
12
close.
teams. I'd sprinkle.
I think it's close. To think of the next 5 years that he won't put together one team that's in that top 12, I think it's close. I mean, I'm just talking from an odds.
Depends how good Childs is and all that.
Yep.
Okay. Spartan 18770. Graham, if Izzo pulls a Saban and retires after the season, A, who is your choice to succeed him? And B, why are you completely wrong?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, Shaka Smart would be somebody I would make a call to, because I think what I like about Shaka is here's a guy who was a hot young coach at one point at VCU, goes to Texas, doesn't work, then goes to Marquette, a place that's a good fit where it's basketball first. It worked. Like, I like guys who have been fired, who've been through it a little bit, who have failed. That would be my call. Now, there are probably other guys out there, but I would think he would be interested in Michigan State. And I like guys who are young enough that he could have a long tenure, but experienced enough that he's screwed some things up at times. And I don't know. I think he would play a style of play people would enjoy watching. That would be my first. He's a Midwest guy right now in terms of his recruiting base. That would be my first.
I mean, if you want a guy that loses, I mean, Juwan Howard's your guy.
Go get. Yeah. Well, and Howard had a great first couple of years. Wouldn't it be hilarious if Michigan State hired
no, it wouldn't.
Jimmy King?
Would that be one of your
Rose?
podcasts where you'd have to do it with someone else if they hired Juwan Howard?
If you weren't available?
Yeah.
Yeah. If Michigan State hires Juwan Howard, we will do an emergency pod whether you're available or not. Yeah. For sure.
All right. Cool. Ryan Schultz, am I fair to call the MSU basketball program dishonest when Mark D told us all he could compete for another Rose Bowl by bringing all of his coaches back? Then went 6-6. The program was dishonest. Izzo told us that he's hunting a second natty, and the team doesn't look remotely capable.
No, I think basketball is a different animal. It's easier to turn, right? It's a couple players. It's one guy getting older and getting a lot better. Like, again, let's go back to 2015 with the way they had been recruiting. They just have this year in 2014 where it was supposed to be the year. It doesn't happen. They're adding guys like Tum Tum Nair and Alvin Ellis, and people are a little down. They're at that point, they look like they're on the bubble with Denzel Valentine as a junior and Travis Trice as a senior. And the next year, when Denzel Valentine has that triple-double against Kansas in the Champions Classic, like all of a sudden, the possibilities seemed endless for a roster that didn't change over that much. It can take and that's part of why I think this year has been frustrating, that the older guys on this team, nobody has taken that turn. Now, Tyson Walker was already really, really good last year. A guy put up 30 against Purdue and did a lot of, but I did wonder, could a Hogard take that next step where it's just consistent and a real force, and that has not necessarily happened. So I don't think he's being dishonest. I think he believes it. And I don't think things are as far away when you look at the way they're recruiting. That's the other thing I would just say is different. I know people, say, well, the recruiting is just in a better place, much more steam to it than the football program was at the end under D'Antonio. And I just think a basketball program in the place that MSU is in a easier turn to get to that next level. I'd also say that they're not even close to where the two programs, where the football program was at the end of D'Antonio's era. If you are a 6-6, 7-6 football team That is an NIT basketball team. Those two comparisons are not. If you're doing what Michigan State basketball is doing right now, that is like a 8-4 football team. It's a little bit different level and area, and so no, I don't. To answer your question, I don't think they're being dishonest.
Clint Bainey up next. How many wins does MSU football produce next fall?
What are we saying on this? We're going 7? 6?
I could be talked into 7.
Yeah. Let's put so. Like I said, I think there's going to be some for people already going to be rooting for MSU, some money making opportunities with the over under. I think the over under. What do you guess in Vegas will set it at 5.5?
I think so. 5.5. Yeah, because he can't go 6.5, right?
Yeah,
I'm not going to get many bets from that one.
No,
so I'm thinking 5.5. Yeah. Clint, what percentage of fourth down calls were good calls for the Lions this year? I'd have to go back and watch some tape.
I mean, how often in your head can you remember thinking that's just?
Dude, I don't remember what happens during the show as soon as we're done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't recall fourth down plays.
Yeah.
Sorry. Jack could. Eblin, try it. Clint One Ball Bainey, will U of M fire Juwan Howard after the season?
No.
Don't you think it'll be like a mutual, where he just leaves? There's no real firing.
Yeah,
they just decide they're gonna.
If it's this year, it won't be. It won't be a firing. I don't think.
But why? It's program shit.
Yeah, but he's had some good seasons. I don't think they want to fire him. That's why.
No.
And oh, by the way, I have found the at least I've got some Hondo footage here in a little bit.
Found Bigfoot,
and we'll have to see if it actually. I don't know if this plays or not. We'll find that out in a minute.
Is it an MP4?
Yeah.
Shit. Travis Maynard next. MSU has enough talent. It just feels like we are not always leveraging it. Example, the last possession of the first half after a timeout. Why not put the best offensive 5 on the floor? Why put Mahdi in? Who clogged the lane for Tyson Walker instead of Booker, who could step out and spread the floor?
Yeah, I mean, this is where the argument they would make is that what they do with ball screens, Mady Sissoko is the best guy for that. Like, he's their best screener. And, that's fine. I disagree with, like, if I was the coach of the team, and Izzo would, disagree with this, but I would play a lot less Mady Sissoko. And I would use him in certain matchups. He'd be playing 12, 14 minutes a game, but I wouldn't use him in situations where you needed a bucket, certainly. And I would even be trying some smaller, different lineups. I can't answer that because I just disagree with Izzo a little bit on this.
Travis Maynard next. Graham, I desperately need you to talk about why we continue to stem our own momentum. I understand time substitutions, but why not ride a hot hand or leave a guy in when he scored and when he's had the block of the century? Have you ever asked Tom this directly? Help me.
Yes, and Izzo and I have had arguments about it. I wrote one of the times he called me, and I knew it was coming. Michigan State played, this is the Miles Bridges sophomore year, maybe freshman year. I think it's a sophomore year. Game at Ohio State that starts really well. They have a unit on the floor that's scoring, and then the natural subs happen, and the run stops, and it was a road game where it felt like if they had left that lineup on the floor for another 2 minutes, they could have extended a lead to the point that it would have really helped in that game, and they wound up losing the game. And I wrote about that, and I asked, Izzo about that, and I mean, he was not thrilled with it. And his argument is the way they sub and the things they do ultimately late in games lead other teams to wear down, and that's what's worked over time. And he's right to some extent. And you do see them late in games now. Some of these teams that have taken them into the second half have worn down, and that's worked certain years. I would also argue that, look at the beginning of the second half, and they left those 4 mainstay guys in. Now they switched Cooper in for Sissoko, but they left the other 4 starters in for 6 full minutes as they went on that big run to kind of take the control over against Michigan. I think they need to be more of keeping the same group in there as they're rolling. Again, this is where he and I have different philosophies. He's the Hall of Fame coach. I'm not. I would tend to play guys for longer stretches and fewer planned substitutions. But if you have fewer planned substitutions and things are going well with your top dudes, Xavier Booker never gets in. There are days where Cohen Carr wouldn't get in. And I will say this, at the time Cohen Carr had that sequence with the bucket and then the block, at the time he had the block, his replacement was already at the scorer's table. And do you say, well, leave him in anyway? That's a fair argument. But the bucket that happened right after that was scored over Malik Hall, who was playing post defense, was the sort of bucket that Carr would have given up, because Hall was the guy I think who came in for Carr, and that's not where Carr's strength is defensively anyway. So that didn't result in that immediate bucket, if that makes any sense.
All right, and Mean Joel Green here. First, Izzo is the patron saint of MSU and basically God. However, why in the flying fuck can you not hold off on the scheduled substitutions when Cohen Carr muscles in a drive and then sends a 6'9" dude into a black hole? For fuck's sake. If a dude has 2 fouls, you adjust. Do it for momentum.
Yeah, look, I think more Carr is better. I would be inclined to hold off on moments like that, see if a guy can keep rolling. But that's never been who they've been, especially in the first half, where those scheduled substitutions just happen. And you can disagree with it. I sometimes do. But there's nothing I can do about it. I can write that I disagree with it, and I have at times. I thought, I've written about Carr needs to have more minutes or whatever, and this and that here and there. And, it just.
Is Izzo the most stubborn coach in college basketball?
Oh, I'm sure there are just as bad other places.
I need names.
Yeah, I just don't cover them, so I don't know. But
Right.
Coaches are generally stubborn, and they don't like. By the time they figure something out, usually, now this is going to come across bad, but this, I've noticed this about some coaches, that they will come up with an idea that fans or writers have been calling for like 4 weeks and think it's their own. And you know what? As long as they eventually get there.
Dat dude next. I don't believe Jared Goff was the reason the Lions lost by any means last Sunday, but he also was a reason we didn't win. His lack of being able to extend plays gives him a ceiling that I'm not sure includes being a Super Bowl winning quarterback. What say you?
What say you?
I mean, yes, he missed some throws in that San Fran game, but again, in the Tampa Bay game and against the Rams, he made some unbelievable throws. I'm not blaming him. He's not the reason why we didn't win, I don't believe. I mean, those drop passes, they were right in the breadbasket for those guys. So I just don't know why we're so down on this team. I mean, we have a lot of momentum going into next season. I understand the injury problem. I can listen to that. But to not say, like, oh, we'll never get back there? Like, how the fuck do you know? Like, you don't trust Brad Holmes at all after what he did last year with all of those rookies? So
I think the key with Goff is you're going to pay him at this point. The key is just as much flexibility as possible. That
I don't think he owes that, though, to the Lions.
That's fine, but they don't owe him more than that.
Just give him $200 million. I understand. Yeah. Andrew Gauthier next. For the Goff haters, name 7 QBs who are clearly better. For Campbell haters, name 5 coaches that are clearly better. Nitpick all you want, but how many coaches could have done what Campbell did? We've been mostly terrible for more than 60 years. This sucked, but it's not all his fault.
Well, with Campbell, I don't think anybody's arguing that there's a better coach for the Lions right now. I mean, people are pretty happy overall. You may disagree with a call here or there, but nobody's, I don't think, unhappy with the direction of the Lions under Dan Campbell and the fact that he's created a culture that brings a guy like Ben Johnson back who probably had a head coaching opportunity. Like, that tells you that, I mean, that was the thing I was worried about a little bit for the Lions. I don't think Campbell is a concern. The Goff thing, right, there might be 7 better. If you want me to name 7, I would go Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Herbert, Josh Allen. I would go Stroud. That's 6. Jordan Love, who would you rather have right now if they offered you the choice?
Jared Goff.
Okay.
Love.
Jordan Love, whatever. All right, let's say
I don't know. Yeah,
Dak Prescott, fine, either way.
Purdy.
Yeah, I mean, so there's 6 obvious, and I'm probably missing somebody. Jalen Hurts, who would you rather have?
I got it. I mean, for our offense, I mean, yeah, you have to go Hurts.
Okay, so that's 7.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just about the 7. I'm not saying it.
But you could take Hurts out and put Goff in. I wouldn't.
True.
I don't disagree with that either.
I think the question then becomes, it's not even how – there could only be two guys who are better. But if you don't think you can win a Super Bowl with somebody, then that's the whole game. The whole game. You can say, well, what are you going to do? Well, I don't know. You keep trying until you have a guy you can win a Super Bowl with. And I'm not – I think they can win a Super Bowl with Goff. I think the only downside is that their window is just going to be a window. It's not going to be a whole career like it is with Burrow or maybe Allen or Mahomes, because they don't have that guy. And that the Lions of this iteration of the Lions will be good for 4 or 5 years with Goff and maybe win one, and then they'll be bad again, and you hope they're able to build it back, and next time maybe they will have the quarterback who can throw through a brick wall and a legend and all that stuff. This is not going to be who the Lions are. I don't see a way they get that quarterback unless by, some chance, some later round draft pick or Hendon Hooker or something all of a sudden winds up being a great player. They also have to be open to that, though, because, look at the Brady era and how it started. Drew Bledsoe got them to a Super Bowl. I would argue Goff has a lot of Drew Bledsoe in him. High round draft pick, really good quarterback you can win with, and then all of a sudden there was this guy on the roster, they're like, we're actually better with that guy. As long as you're open to that possibility, and they had just given a huge contract to Bledsoe, as long as you're always open to things, and I think Brad Holmes is, then you have Goff until it's proven he's not the guy.
Andrew Gauthier, is it just me, or do MSU players get as many foul calls when driving as other teams?
I think we answered. When I put this in, I couldn't remember. I thought it was Andrew who asked it first. I was like, maybe I didn't put it in. So the answer is no, but that's partly. I mean, the numbers say they're not. I don't think they drive as much as other teams. I don't think it's an anti-MSU thing. The other thing that doesn't happen is they don't have a post game really of note, and that's where a lot of fouls happen, in the post. They're not throwing the ball down there very often, and when they do, it's not going well usually.
Next one from Andrew. What is the ceiling for this MSU Hoops team? Can we expect to see more of Kohler at center and Booker at 4? Will that lineup help or hurt?
Yeah, I do think you'll see a little more. You saw it again in the last game, and that was something interesting. I do think they'll start to try to keep doing that, especially in home games, especially in the first half, because I think if either one of those guys, both ideally, can give a little more and be plus players, especially, can Booker become that guy, that makes a difference in who you are. The mainstays are going to be the 4 main guys. There's no doubt that the best lineup that Michigan State is going to put on the court almost assuredly is going to have Hogard, Walker, and Hall and Akins. I would argue that there are times where why not throw Trey Holloman in that and go really small and make somebody deal with you if you're not rebounding that well anyway. But the real question is who else is on the court in the key moments with that group, and can somebody be good enough to elevate that group? That we'll see.
Andrew Graham, the next time the Lions are in a crucial playoff game, can you drop the snarky BS for a couple hours? That was the puke topping on the shit Sunday we as Lions fans were served in the second half Sunday night.
Yeah, apologies. It was not my finest hour.
At least you recognize it.
Yeah, it was not great. I do apologize, and yeah. But I will say, speaking of better tasting things, Groovy Doughnuts right now. They're so close to their Super Bowl, right? Fat Tuesday. It's their busiest day of the year. I am not a huge punchki guy, but
you'll eat 3 or 4 anyway.
I will. Yeah, and if you look at the pictures of their creme brulee punchkis, they look absolutely incredible. You can pre-order a 4-pack and pick yours up on Fat Tuesday. Go to GroovyDoughnuts.com to pre-order. That's the ideal situation. But they are open on Fat Tuesday, of course, and it is the Super Bowl of. It's not quite National Donut Day. I would consider that the Super Bowl, but this is their busiest day of the year. And GroovyDoughnuts.com, make them your choice for Fat Tuesday.
What day is National Donut Day?
It's usually I want to say June. So it's an
is that
interesting
you
time.
acting like you don't know what the actual day?
I do know it's in June. I think I'm pretty sure it's in June.
Truth comes out. Andrew, do you have plans or interest in watching the Super Bowl? This is the first time I can remember not having a desire to watch.
Are you going to watch it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm just, I needed a couple days. But I mean, I'm not as excited obviously as in past years. But you have the squares and you do the bets, and so yeah, it'll be fun. I still love football.
Yeah. I mean, the betting part of it and the prop bets that I always lose so much money on donations to the Firekeepers Casino.
And I have nothing else to do,
right,
than watch the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I have another hobby or something.
I do wonder if this is like I know for Andrew and Monica that if the Lions were in the Super Bowl, it was going to put some stress on them because the way their baking schedule goes for Fat Tuesday, which includes some Monday pre-order pickups, like the fact that Easter is so early this year and Fat Tuesday is right after the Super Bowl, and I don't know what Easter's doing. They need to get that fixed, but that is problematic. Like the Lions were in the Super Bowl, they were going to have to work on their staffing just so they could watch the Super Bowl. And so now there's probably a little bit of relief. They're
so happy that
they're not going to have to miss it. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't. Maybe this is him.
Thank God the Lions lost.
Maybe this is him just projecting on the little like, well, I'm not going to be able to see it anyway, so I have no interest. I
think that's you projecting his projection.
Yeah.
Bo McJunkin's next. Can I be underwhelmed? Fuck. In Aiden Hutchinson's performance last week with zeros on the stat sheet? Or will Go Blue Baumgartner tell me I'm just an angry Sparty?
It was not a great day for Hutchinson. It wasn't. And he's had some really impactful games late in the season and the playoffs.
And it happened throughout the season, too.
What, that he wasn't good?
Yeah, he was just he was gone for some games. And then you see like the stat like hurries, like he's number one in hurries, and it just sounded like they're trying to put a bow tie on a pig.
I don't think he's ever going to be the most dominant defensive end in football, but I think he can be really effective. And again, that's going to be
still young.
Yeah, and when you have to pay that guy, you have to think about that too. Like how much do you pay the guy who's really good but not great? You don't pay really good great, and I think that's one of the philosophies the Lions have to stick to.
Let's give him one more year before we start.
I'm not out on him either. I mean, he was fantastic in a lot of ways, and it ultimately, if the team they construct gets a Super Bowl done, pay everybody. I don't, nobody.
Next one from Bo. Thoughts on the Tigers extending Colt Keith? Brilliant. A 6-year incentive-laden deal, Graham?
It's even longer than that, right?
You said, it says 6 years. The potential of it ballooning up to $80 million.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for both parties, it works for the Tigers, and it works for him. He's going to be 28 when this is over. Get another big contract. So
I think it's even older than that on the team options. I think he's in his 30s maybe by the time the team options are done.
Then that's not very smart for him then.
Yeah, well, he would get $82 million if they pick up all the team options. It's $28 million guaranteed. It's smart for the Tigers. I think this is a good way to potentially lock up good young players that you think are going to be great without putting a whole lot of risk on it. The worst thing that can happen for the Tigers in a non-salary cap sport too is you owe a guy $28 million if he doesn't pan out.
And he should have been called up last year. He was absolutely raking.
I mean, you think about that. That's like 1.5 times 1 year of Miguel Cabrera is all they're on the hook for this guy. That's
depressing is what it is.
It's depressing,
I guess. Chris Eastlick, since weather people get too excited, Graham, am I allowed to get excited about the sun this weekend? Or would you prefer I be excited about Hallmark movie bingo?
Well,
would you like my excitement better if we co-presented with our Orange Crush Elway jerseys at Front 43 and discuss how the 14 playoff creators should have the shame written on their tombstones? Just trying to help prepare for snow a few weeks ago, and this is the thanks I get. Appreciate Rube for having my back. Still appreciate you, Grant.
I appreciate you, Chris. And
I had his back?
You did. You did.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and if
What'd I do?
Yeah. No, and I would like you, Orange Crush. If there's a group of people with Orange Crush Elway jerseys hanging out at Front 43, I will absolutely be there to hang out with them. Let me just say that right now. Those are like two of my favorite things. I would just be.
What a threat!
Yeah, I would be there for sure. And yeah. By the way,
something else that won't happen.
Yeah, Front 43, awesome place to watch some football this or next weekend. And
like, would the bartender call you and be like, "Hey, Graham, we have a bunch of Denver Broncos orange creamsicle jerseys.
I would
down here.
I would love that. Yeah.
Or give me 5.
Or Michigan State game 5:30 p.m. You're not at Breslin. Great way to check that out. And if you've never done Front 43 and Cask and Company, really urge you to do so. It's one of my favorite recommendations to give people because it pans out. Every experience I've heard has been terrific. I do give weather people a tough time sometimes. You do too, though. I don't think you're not always.
No, that was I ripped on Provenzano, but that was to his face. fantasy football. He got me back, by the way.
Yeah.
On Monday night, I actually watched the Andy Provenzano weathercast, and he said the roads wouldn't be bad. I got up, went to work, I got on the highway, went to work, and it was like I couldn't see 5 feet in front of me. I'm like, dag nabbit.
That was Provenzano. Like
Provenzano fucked me again.
I'm gonna fuck the Rube.
Anyway, Chris Easlick, maybe I've missed it over the years. Is Jason involved with any other podcasts at the studio or any other production content? Like currently? Like, does he think I've been doing another podcast?
Yeah, if there's like some Rube podcast out there,
No.
like some side.
No, I used to do Spartan Beat with Rico years ago.
You did Schuling's report.
Schuling's, yeah, when that was on the radio.
Yeah.
So yeah. Chris Eastlick, how did you guys become friends with Harry?
We were connected with him, right? Because we had a couple different gambling guys.
Well, Odd Shark is who we went through, and we had John Campbell, and then John Campbell changed jobs, and then we had Chris Abbott, and then I believe Chris
changed jobs too.
And then they gave us the Harry's number. I didn't know who Harry was. This was before Cousin Sal and when they were on TV. So I was like, hell yeah. And then he ended up just, he's one hell of a guy, as you hear every time we talk to him. So
we just struck gold. Yeah. Excited.
Some dude next. Guys, what are your top sporting events you've ever attended? I've been lucky to have gone to MSU's 2014 Rose Bowl, 2000 Final Four, and Sweet 16, Elite 8 games at the Palace, 2004 Pistons Game 5 win, 1992 Lions playoff win, and Maglio. Jesus, you just went. What didn't you go to?
It's pretty amazing.
Maglio's ALCS home run game. I must say that those two Lions playoff games were tops for me, even with horrible seats.
Well, in the way you talk about the Lions game you went to, I can imagine this being correct for a lot of people. Like it was a spiritual experience.
And in my top 5 would be last year going to that Bears game at Ford Field and that win and the excitement in the crowd that started everything for this season. Yeah, and Lambeau was unbelievable. We had great weather. It was awesome to go kick their ass and be in Lambeau. So, yeah, in the playoff victory, nothing will ever top it in my lifetime other than maybe an NFC championship at home, I guess.
Yeah, and for me, there are two categories here. One is like things I've gone to as a fan or a spectator, and then things I've covered, and those are different experiences. Like I didn't enjoy the Rose Bowl all that much. I didn't think I wrote a great column that day. I gained 10 pounds that week. Like it was. I for whatever reason I didn't, and I feel I wish I could do that experience again. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like I thought I would. Whereas I loved the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. I really loved that. Strangely, you have those things. But I would say is sporting events that I've gone to. Went to one of the Tigers playoff games with my dad in like 10-ish or no, later than that. 2013 playoff game. A lot of fun. 95 Michigan State game against Michigan. Still up there. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other ones. There have been many more as a fan.
Maybe you and some dude can DM each other or something.
Yeah, we keep the show moving is what you're saying?
Keep it banging,
yeah.
Steve, next. Is the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift relationship a ploy to get people to vote?
I don't think
hope
so.
so.
Okay. Yeah, you hope so, yeah.
Why do we want people to vote, by the way? Why are we desperate to get people to vote?
Well,
I'd rather have people not vote. I don't want to vote. I don't want to vote for this election. These two old Fs.
I don't know if you want that either. You want people to vote. You want people to be engaged. We want people engaged.
Are you sure you want people to vote?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know yet, but
Should come down to Ovid.
Yeah.
We'll go vote there.
That'll be my new precinct.
Your answer.
I'm going to stick over on the west side of Lansing if you don't mind. I do think this is a real relationship, though. I do. I don't know how long it'll last, but I don't think
it's real.
I do think it's real.
Call TMZ.
I think it's real.
Steve, I'll pay Groovy Doughnuts $50 to ship one frozen punchki to Iowa.
Whoa. No, they don't usually do this stuff because it diminishes the quality of their work, and quality matters to them. And
I'll send you one for 50.
Yeah, I was going to say we might be. I don't know
to freeze it though.
I don't think they have time to do that with just how chaotic their lives are right around Fat Tuesday. I mean, it really is just nuts. I understand, but
this just in: Groovy Doughnuts, they cannot send donuts to Iowa. So sorry, they're busy.
But
of course, they're busy. They can't send donuts to fucking Iowa.
But we do appreciate the support, Steve.
Jesus. All right, Steve.
Oh, hold on. Let's do this. Yep.
All right, Steve, what is the best Bill Murray movie? In my opinion, it's Groundhog Day versus Caddyshack versus Ghostbusters for the top spot.
What's your favorite?
What About Bob?
Same. I was going to say it.
Oh,
Yep.
shit.
That's great.
All right, I got to change mine.
No, it's a great movie.
God damn, you like that way too much.
I love that movie. I
do too, though. Whatever.
When he's on the boat and he's tied to the sail and he's like, ahoy.
What does he say? What's the
Ahoy.
other one?
He's explaining it later that he swam with the fish in the seas and or whatever he did. Anyway, that is What About Bob is it for me?
It's the best.
Yeah, it's terrific.
All right, you want to take a break?
Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll try and get this Hondo clip for you.
Yes.
And then also many more of your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Front 43 and Cask and Company and Firekeepers Casino and iCasino and Sportsbook app.
Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at GoMuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Doughnuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Doughnuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Doughnuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at GroovyDoughnuts.com. If you're looking for a relaxed vibe, great food, and an outstanding beer selection, Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing is your place. Enjoy their famed chicken and waffle fries, fish and chips, or any of their delicious burgers or salads. Midtown Brewing Company also offers 40-plus beers on tap, including ciders and seasonal offerings and daily happy hour specials. The spacious and cozy vibe makes Midtown Brewing Company a perfect place for a beer with a friend, a work lunch, or to watch the games on its big screen TVs. If you'd rather eat at home, Midtown Brewing Company offers a terrific carryout menu and free delivery on orders of $20 or more. Visit MidtownBrewingCompany.net or stop by 402 South Washington in downtown Lansing for the Midtown Brewing Company experience.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast app.
Couch in the Rube, our Thursday show brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, and also Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar. Awesome place for lunch, for happy hour, for a date night, for a place to watch a game. The TV setups there is as good as you'll find anywhere. Jason, do we have the Hondo footage?
It did not. It's not working. Like there, I don't know what video it's playing on this.
Okay.
It just, yeah, I do not see it. It says exclusive video posted now. Edong Ebok, all caps, behind the jersey. Like it says that, but there's no video.
There's no video if you go lower.
It's like a slideshow showing football shit. So
all right, we will work on that and get it in a future show.
2008.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's out there.
Wow.
I know the actual video itself has been sent to me in like a group chat. Now I'll just have to go find that and stuff, and because I would like to.
I mean, can you tell us about it? Is he dressed in some weird
you have to listen.
garb?
Like it doesn't do it justice. Like you know what I mean? It's worth listening to even the part we have. We can't find the whole thing. The whole thing would be incredible.
I just envision him dressed like Barney Rubble or something, just in Africa.
Do you have any contacts still over at WLAJ or anything like that? You could.
It's not even a thing. I don't think it's a thing anymore. ABC 53.
Yeah, that's got to be somewhere. There is an archive. There's a tape, reel to reel, whatever it is.
Reel to reel.
We can go find it. We will work on that. All right, more of your Groovy Donut Twitter questions.
All right, JD up next. Will the Big Ten ever realize giving Purdue massive officiating advantages in the regular season and the Big Ten tournament completely screws them in the tourney? Hope not.
You know, I do agree there's something to this, that I don't know if it's massive advantages, but the way Purdue is officiated in the Big Ten is not the way they've been officiated in the tourney, and I do think that hurts them. If I were Purdue, and I don't know how you say that because ideally they're calling the game the way they think is best, but I would ask when I got to the Big Ten tournament at least, when you've already won the Big Ten tournament's kind of a showcase event. You don't need to win it anyway. I would say, hey, tougher whistle on us. Let us get used to this. That's what I would ask. If I were Purdue right now, and all that mattered to me is being a program that has a chance to win a national title and getting to a Final Four, which I've never done, I would use the Big Ten tournament as a chance to try to advance to a tougher whistle. I would ask for a tougher whistle in those games.
Steve up next. When the NCAA tournament starts, it seems the Big Ten teams are called for more fouls than regular season. True? And if so, will it benefit MSU's up-tempo running style versus their centerless half-court style?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I guess it could. I don't know. I don't know if it'll help. It really depends on the crew and the matchups and all that sort of stuff.
Bo McJunkins, if the Big Ten is going to baby Zach Edey with fouls, should every student section count to 3 every time he's in the paint, since he has 14 3-second violations per game that go uncalled?
You could try it. It's certainly. I'm amazed more coaches don't bring it up to refs, because usually when there's something like that, coaches are like, hey, be aware of this and help it get called, because that's not a call that, how many 3-second calls do you see a year, right? It's just not that often. So, I'm surprised we don't get more coaches reaching out. They're trying to get that done.
Maybe they do, and the refs are like, screw you. Nate C., what's the largest foul disparity you've ever seen in college basketball? Well, Purdue, Northwestern.
It's up there, yeah. It's possible I've seen something like it, but it certainly seemed like a lot yesterday.
Nate C., more excited or anxious for next year's Lions? Both.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I'm excited, and, then you realize that football is 9 months away, and even though the draft's in April, but still, it's a long time to wait.
And I'm a little curious about what the teams around them are going to be, what Chicago's going to do this offseason, whether they'll have a rookie quarterback, whether Green Bay is going to take that. Sometimes you remember when Jacksonville was like that hot young team with Mark Brunell back in the mid-'90s that upset the Broncos and all that.
Fred Taylor.
But that team never really, and so that felt like this year's Packers, right? The team that's like, oh my gosh, they beat the Cowboys, but that team never really ascended to be a Super Bowl power. They were that great young team, and then it never happened for them. So the question, you don't know that Green Bay is automatically going to keep taking steps. So how good will they be? There are lots of things to think about.
Jay Riemann Schneider, since Twitter is now called X, are the posts still called tweets?
Well, technically they're called posts, but I just think the vernacular is still Twitter and tweets to me.
Man.
If at some point
X's.
If at some point more people are calling it X, then we will start to call it X.
I won't.
Okay. Well, then we'll never call it X.
Next one from Jay. Ever have a hotel stay where you could hear people in the next room doing the bow chicka wow wow? Is that sex?
It is sex. Yeah. I have not at a hotel. I had an apartment in a complex I lived in when I first moved to Kalamazoo there was a couple either a floor above or below me or somewhere in the summer when the windows were open every once in a while. You'd be like, "Whoa, Jesus, that's loud." But I don't know if you had that happen in your hotel. Okay,
my dad.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was when I was 12 years old, and he went up to Grand Haven, and he had a lady with him, and he got not adjoining rooms, but the bed was next to the wall. So what are you going to hear? I mean, I had the TV on, but I kind of could hear what was happening.
How did you deal with it?
I watched TV.
Loudly?
Well, I mean, yeah. I tried. What are you supposed to do about it? Like, knock on the door?
Yeah. No, it's not great. That's not great. That is a story we're telling, though, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. An awesome place to be for just about any occasion. I'm telling you, if you're looking for a drink after work or a date night, whatever it is, the character really stands out there. The vibe, everything, the menu's fantastic. Midtown Brewing Company, go to midtownbrewing.net to check out their menu.
Then there was when I was 9 and I was in a parking lot while he was with a flight attendant. I was playing with a remote control car.
Well, okay, so you're in a parking lot and your dad...
just said play. He said play with your remote control, but now after the fact, why we were there, and
so he was.
It makes sense years later.
So he was in. He was not. They were not in the car too.
No, they were in her when she stayed in town or something.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like a flight attendant stays in. I don't know.
What a childhood.
Yeah. It's T-Bone's dad. Next, who currently in the Big Ten fills the role of Jimmy Chitwood, Ollie, and Coach Dale in a Hoosiers remake. They all reside on Wisconsin's team.
Well, the Jimmy Chitwood character, could be like Storr at Wisconsin, right? He's a guy who comes in. He wasn't part of the team a year ago. Time for me to start playing some basketball, and all of a sudden they're really good. He's the key player. I don't really fit the Jimmy Chitwood look, but, Ollie is definitely Steven Izzo. There's no other Ollie in the Big Ten like that. And Norman Dale would have to be somebody who comes in as an outsider, kind of gets it to work. So I don't know what program that would be.
Brad Underwood?
Yeah, the closest thing would probably be Brad Underwood. That's a really
he has
good
the
call.
look.
Yeah, yep.
T-Bone's dad, do you get any Nick Saban vibes from Jonathan Smith? Feel like he's a great hire. Just worried he'll bolt to a high-profile opportunity after resurrecting MSU.
Yeah, you just can't worry about that stuff because if you resurrect MSU, then you're good. And I don't. He's young enough that there could be another move in him. He's not from this area. There could be his family could want to be elsewhere. Who knows? You don't know if somebody's a lifer when they just get started. You don't worry about it because if what you don't do if you're Michigan State is get sort of swindled like they were with Mel Tucker into a fake offer from LSU. And that sort of stuff. And because I don't believe that the LSU's interest was all that real. And it's not that they didn't need to up his contract. It's just that was the beginning of the end, as it turned out. And it was. I think it changed how Tucker behaved a little bit. I think it created some tension in the athletic department, and it created an expectation that was harder to meet. And so you got to be careful. But I'm not saying Jonathan Smith's going to. If you pay him more, he's going to fall into any sort of traps or anything. But I wouldn't. I don't know the man, so I don't know if those vibes are fair. But I don't think you worry about it. You worry about trying to get the program where you want it to be, and then hopefully you've got an administration that at a point to reward a coach if the coach deserves to be rewarded. Like Saban didn't want to leave, wasn't going to leave if a different president was in place. So. You eventually might have lost him to the NFL at some point. I think that would have happened. That was an itch he was going to scratch. But they might have gotten 5 more years out of him. They might have got the LSU years out of Nick Saban.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
Beppe Plum next. Will MSU have an actual spring game, or is the showcase another lame practice? Better than nothing, but we need more football.
I think they're calling it a showcase that keeps it open-ended. It's on 420, which is cool. So you can,
what does that mean?
Whatever it means for you.
Oh.
But I don't think they know because when Jonathan Smith was asked about this, he talked about just it matters, healthy guys, size of the roster, all that sort of stuff. You hope it's something better than the last one was. I think they took their foot off the pedal a little bit, but in terms of making that a fun event, you hope it's just a fun day for people because it will be something that's well attended. Like if you get the number one thing that matters for a spring game in East Lansing, Michigan is weather. And Chris Eastlick knows this, and we'll check with Chris going into that game, and he can tell us what's going on. And I won't give him shit.
Next one.
Hold on. The next two things are the quarterback and new coach, and they have both those things. Sorry.
Pepe Plum, where should I stay in Boston for the MSU-BC football game? I need subway access, good food, and Graham to bring me some groovy donuts. I'll bring you Sundrop.
Yeah, I don't know Boston well enough. I mean, I've stayed there before, and I don't know it well enough to give advice on it. I will say this. I do know that the T, as they call it there, which is like the L in Chicago, the subway or whatever, the stops are very close together. So you need to double check whether you actually need to get on the T or the next stop might be 12 feet away and you can just walk it. I made that mistake a few times. But as we get closer, we can DM and I can give you my own.
They have good weed there.
In Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Shep next. Graham, has Angelique leveraged her blue wall loyalty to get a plaque in her seat in the Michigan press box? Do you think if you based your coverage more toward MSU, maybe someday there could be a Graham Couch memorial trough installed in the Spartan Stadium press box bathroom?
That is the dream. Yeah, if I biased, I would.
Who do we need to talk to?
Yeah, if you told me I just had to write a few flowery columns and I could get my own trough.
A Graham Couch trough.
Would you want?
That would be awesome.
Like my picture over it as you're peeing too, like just
gotta have something to pee at.
Yeah, right. You know, that's the
How
dream.
quickly, if they put it down with where the public sits, would it be defaced? If you had a picture near a trough on.
Yeah, it'd be the first home game. First home game.
We need to make stickers. NPC softball dad. When is Madi inducted into the Matt Shepard Hall of Fame? Does that happen after the senior day game?
Which senior day? This year or next year? That's the thing. He's going to go through senior day this year, I think, but he might be back next year, at which time you can induct him.
First ballot. Mojo Jojo. Graham, have you and Elizabeth checked out Abbott Elementary yet?
I think we have. We both like it. It's not like in our cycle of shows. We pretty limited time. But I like it a lot, and it might be a show that I watch on my own.
Oh, that's a show?
Abbott Elementary? Yeah, it's a good show. It's a really well done show. It's a good comedy because you know what it doesn't have? A laugh track. Like it's one of those new edge. It's a good comedy. It's well done.
See, I thought you guys were talking about having kids or something, and he was asking, have you checked it out for like future kids or something?
Oh, I would send my kids to Abbott.
I didn't know it was a show.
Yeah.
Mojo. I love Izzo, and Madi is a good kid, but why do we keep going back to him? He couldn't rebound a can off the top shelf and literally lost another player a rebound yesterday.
Yeah, he does that a lot where, another guy would have had the rebound, but he gets his hand in there and doesn't hang on to it. There are things he does well, and his plus minus says that he's better than it sometimes looks, and it's just not. Again, this is where I disagree a little bit, and it's tough because he is really good. I've had great conversations with him. I think he's a genuinely good person. I think he cares a lot, wants to be good, and it's and to be honest, they haven't always had great other options, and there are some things he does well, but I can't give you the answer.
Last one from Mojo. Beginning family planning. Any tips, gents?
Well, I would say lots of sex, right? That's really the key. I mean, that's supposed to be the fun part of it. And
pull out.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
No family.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I mean, the specifics, I don't, yeah.
About the sex? You're going to get specific?
No, about I don't know. We'll keep moving. Yeah.
Nestle's Quick Hotel. Should those defending Campbell for going for it on fourth down in lieu of field goal attempts also criticize him for not going for it before halftime and kicking a field goal instead? Bonus, will we ever get over this? Like completely?
Yeah.
Completely over it?
I do think
I need another season.
I think it'll be a little painful when the 49ers take the field at the Super Bowl.
Nah, it's painful now.
Yeah.
Like when I just sit there and just daydream about it. It still blows.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to move on.
Yeah, I mean, you can criticize him for whatever you thought was the most costly situation. I like the field goal before after. I'm a kick the field goal more often than not guy. I want to get something out of drives if the odds are better that you're going to make the field goal.
Yeah, but you're more of a situational guy, right?
I am totally.
You don't demand a field goal every time.
I'm a vibes and field guy. My least favorite play is when the other teams at like the 2-yard line on 1st and goal, they fail 3 straight times. They've got nothing going and no rhythm, and then because of some analytics doofus, they're like, well, the analytics say go now. What in your last 3 plays made you think going forward on 4th down was going to work? Kick the mother freaking field goal. Like those are the ones that drive me nuts. But I'm a big field guy. Just because the team that has the greatest tight end and quarterback in the NFL happens to have the better odds on 4th down. What does your team have? What are your odds on 4th down? How are you playing right now? And those are the things I think about.
Nestle's Quick Hotel up next. Should those defending, I fucking read that. Russell B., do you think the Lions will make it back to the NFC Championship next season?
You have to. You have to hope. You have to. It's just so hard to know.
Why can't you hope?
Yeah.
If they start off with a 500 record, then I can understand when you're saying that. But we're early in the offseason.
I also don't think there's anything this wasn't some lucky run where you go, boy, that was their chance. They're never going to get past those teams. Look at the rest of the NFC. Who in the NFC do you go, well, that's a roadblock. This should have been the year. That team got upset, and they're lucky. Like the Lions are, right now, and especially the way they played against the 49ers, you can argue there is nobody in the NFC who's automatically better than Detroit next year.
Kurt Wisniewski and Russell B. Did Ben Johnson really come back to the Lions for unfinished business, or was it really the rumored salary demand he had for those head coaching positions?
I don't know.
I still think Washington was ready to pay it.
Yeah.
There's Dan Quinn is not your first choice, right? That seems like we missed out on Ben Johnson.
And I do think, I didn't realize he was as young as he is. He's 37. Mm-hmm. And if you're him and you've got a really good team coming back, so your star is probably not going to drop next year. And you like what you have going, you're well taken care of. And there were a lot of good coaches on the market. Some who didn't. I mean, Vrabel didn't even get a job. You may look at it next year and say, I may have a year where I'm at the top of the list more. I've become the hottest name. I have a better situation to go to. The one thing about Washington that I thought would be enticing for him was that they're in a situation where they're going to get to draft one of the top 3 quarterbacks. And I thought for a young coach, and that's important. But yeah, happy he came back.
Kurt Wisniewski, when will you have Matt Sheehan and Justin Thin on for MSU Sports Talk Bonanza?
Well, they have their own shows. I mean,
this isn't enough Spartan Bonanza for you?
Yeah.
I mean, how much more fucking Bonanza do we need, Kurt?
Yeah. I mean, we can, yeah.
we can have mine.
Yeah, I'm not against them.
I'm just saying.
They have their own shows.
I feel like we do a big Bonanza here.
If you don't want to listen to us, just say it, Kurt. Just say it. No,
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Original Dark Mantonio next. You have to pick one catchphrase to go in the Hall of Fame. The other goes away of the dinosaur. Jason, get your vocal cords ready. Will Tieman's He Got It or Ken Cal's He Scores? Which one are you taking? He got it! Oof. Kenny Cal.
You're keeping that, you're
Kenny
saying.
Cal.
Yeah.
Kenny Cal is probably one of the nicest human beings on the planet.
But that's no longer a nice thing to say about a broadcaster.
No. I mean, he's good at his job, too.
Okay, yeah.
But Kenny Cal, top notch. Original. When talking Michigan football, you often say that this is Michigan's best and only shot. But the other day with the Lions, you agreed that they'll be back. Why can't Michigan win again? Because Harbaugh's gone? And why will the Lions keep winning? Or were you just appeasing your base?
Well, no, there's some different dynamics here. Number one, the Lions have the same coach back, the same coordinators back, the same.
And we're young. We're in year 3 of this whole thing.
Yeah, same quarterback back. A lot more of the same is returning. And Michigan is going to go through a transition here. It's not that Michigan can't. But if you told me the Lions had lost Dan Campbell, their defensive coordinator, and maybe they had hired Ben Johnson, but lost their defensive coordinator, lost their quarterback, lost their top running back, lost a number. You know what I mean? Like, and I know a lot of college teams, it's a different sport, go through transition, but it's just different. It's not that they can't win again; they're just going to have to do it.
Is this the same old Lions mentality, though? I was really surprised in the hot takes how many of them were There's no way we're going to get back here. Like how
I think
how on earth?
I think there are stages of grief that people are going through right now.
Okay.
And that's all.
All right. I just wondering. 2112 CFB. Where is the collective outrage against the NFL, a socialist enterprise, or NBA for not providing a minor league so all athletes could have true free market principles? Play college, minor league as their grad high school, whatever. Funny how MLB and NHL seem to provide, but NFL and NBA are protecting their monopoly. Also, yes, NBA has the G League now. That was only done because high school players were contemplating turning pro.
Believe it or not, I edited this one.
Man.
Mouthful. So some people think there shouldn't be a draft. Some people don't like it. I don't know if there's people love the NFL though, and they love. You know what people love about the NFL is that in every market you have a chance. They love that in Kansas City you can have Patrick Mahomes for a whole career, and in Buffalo you can have Josh Allen for a whole career. That you have the ability to keep your own players through the. There are lots of things that maybe aren't perfect, but are collectively bargained that make the NFL what it is and make it the great fan sport that it is. Where's the outrage? I don't know. I mean, are there things that can be better in different pro sports? Sure. But I don't really know what you want here.
Jake Hawkins, next. Since Law & Order SVU is back on, do you think the whole Mel Tucker incident will be ripped from the headlines and turned into an episode this season?
This is a great question from Jake. Because I could see this happening. As soon as I saw this,
I'll watch that episode.
Yeah, because they will do this stuff. It'll be a basketball coach in Yonkers or something like that, or Queens.
Yeah, but he's not going to be a coach that beats his bag on the phone, though.
It'll be
they can't show that.
It'll be something that's.
Well, I guess you could do it from like behind the chair.
Yeah, but I would not be.
Like arm motions or something.
I would not be stunned if Mel Tucker made. It would be sort of a couple removed. Not everybody would catch it right away, but Michigan State fans would.
What about the Equalizer? Could they do something with it? Or
I'm sure they could if that show actually existed.
Jake Hawkins next. A few questions about Jonathan Smith. How lucky should MSU and its fans be that Washington didn't come open sooner? What exactly is a spring showcase? And I've heard before he's still not comfortable in East Lansing and away from the West Coast. Is this true?
I don't know. I mean, I imagine it's quite a transition for him. He's been out there his whole life. I don't know who's saying that or what not comfortable means, and or whether it really matters, or if it's correct.
I'm sure he was uncomfortable during like a snowstorm here. He's like, "What is this shit?"
His first full month was this January. It wasn't ideal. Right. It was like that was a tough month. But spring showcase, I think it's open ended. I think that's the thing. It might be more of a game. It might be less of a game. I think they're not sure what they're going to have, and it may not be determined until the spring gets going and they realize how many healthy guys they have here and there, and what's best for the program. I think that's why they called it that. How lucky should MSU fans be that Washington didn't come open earlier? It would have been interesting. Certainly, if Washington had been available, I do think that would have been interesting. Now, I know Washington's sort of a secondary rival type of Oregon State, but they're not in the same league anymore, and that would have been interesting. It didn't, so you don't have to worry about it.
Last one from Jake. Which one of Izzo's 700 career wins do you think he'll cherish the most, and which one will he cherish the least?
Well, I think number 120 is the national championship. So I'd say that's the cherish the most. Cherish the least is the one that he didn't actually coach in. Like Izzo actually only has. You really want to piss Izzo off for no reason. I tried to get a couple other writers to do this the other night for $100, and nobody would take me up on it. He only has 699 wins, technically, because he was suspended for a game for that whole Brandon Dawson camp coach recruiting deal, whatever it was. It was a small violation, like 10 years ago, that he was suspended for a game, like in a non-conference game. But it pissed him off. It drove him nuts. And it pissed him off partly because he hates the idea that he would be lumped in with people who have done serious cheating in the sport, too. And so that game,
I like how you offer $100.
There's a new
Probably
writer
get barred from the room, you know.
Madeline Kenny for the Detroit News. She's new and she's bold and she's good. And I just said, if you write this is Tom Izzo's 699th win, I will pay you $100.
Hans Jurgen up next. Last show you mentioned you have blocked people on Twitter for being too crude. There are people more crude than me. I try to be the crudest in the world. Who are these people? How are they beating me?
Well, it's not so much. I mean, your language can be crude, and some of your thoughts can be crude, and we don't always include all of your tweets here because of that. What I mean is, theirs are more cruel than crude. Like there's a cruelness to what they say.
But yeah, because there's a hint of funny to Hans Jurgens.
Yes,
and we kind of know him, or
it's not a
whoever it is.
Personal attack that's cruel, right?
Next one from Hans. Should we forget and forgive people for however they acted during COVID, like not wearing a mask, harassing public health officials, and going out in public while being COVID positive?
You should try to forgive everybody you can in this world, and that was a tough time for a lot of people. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Next one from Hans. What are your job interview tips? Lie.
Yeah.
Just a little, not like a whole lot.
Or a lot. Like,
well,
I mean, to some degree, right? Nothing they can't look up.
Right.
Like, what's the best lie you've ever told in a job interview?
That I would love to work here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like one of those jobs. It's like, I just need the gig. And they're like, are you going to be here 3 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, Jesus.
Yeah, the best example I can give of this, and I've probably done it a little, and I know some others have done this in sports writing, but the guy named Mike Wise, when he got hired by the New York Times, and even before that, he was out in Sacramento, and the New York Times called looking for a freelancer to do a story on a San Jose Sharks goalie. And he happened to pick up the phone, and they asked him what he knew about hockey, and he said everything. And he knew nothing about hockey. You lie and you figure it out later, and because of that, he got a chance to write a profile, wrote a great profile about this guy, and the New York Times actually hired him full-time. Then he got to cover the NBA. But what I mean is, sometimes a little fib to create an opportunity isn't the worst in the world. You just got to know you can actually back it up. That would be my advice. Don't limit yourself. Don't limit your opportunities by being too truthful.
All right, next one from Hans. Who would win in a game of one-on-one, Baby Izzo or Baby Graham?
We talking about the 6-month-old granddaughter, or me as I don't really know who we're. Yeah, I would.
Isn't Baby Izzo Izzo's daughter has a kid, right?
Right. Yeah, 6 months old. Yeah. I would take anybody in the Izzo family over me at 6 months. Although I was,
But why do you act like you don't know what he's talking about? You're like, Baby, is that
well, one-on-one?
Baby Graham, is that me as a child?
Because babies,
yeah, dude, it's you as a child and the kid last night or 2 nights ago. I was on TV.
Babies can't do anything. That's what I'm saying. They roll over. That's the thing.
Hans Jurgen, have you seen Goff's fiance Kristen Harper? Hasn't he already won the Super Bowl?
Some would say yes. He's done well for himself in that regard.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy, how many wins will Izzo have when he retires?
802. That's going to be my guess. He'll get to 800. It'll happen.
That's 103 games away.
Yeah, that's like 5.
Technically, because 699, right?
5 years or something like that. Might be it, yeah.
Jerk Guy, how many wins will, how many free agents will the Lions sign? Hopefully 4 or 5.
Yeah. I mean, they got some. They have some cap room.
Some help.
Yep. Is
Maybe
there
a
any
wide receiver?
Yeah, I think corner, right? Corner, defensive line are the areas, the linebacker maybe.
Linebacker, totally.
Yeah.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy, what seed will MSU get in the NCAA?
If I had to guess, and I'm sometimes off by 1 here, but I'm going to say 7. I think 6 is still very much in play, and just as likely. But I also think this team is going to drop a game somewhere that they shouldn't, and so I think they're going to wind up in a 7.
Next from Jerk Guy, what was the last thing that gave you horripilation? Horripilation.
That means the erection of the hairs on your skin. When your hairs stand up because you're excited.
Yeah, I thought that was going a different way there.
Yeah, sorry.
About to say that happened this morning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Something. It was probably a final scene in a Hallmark movie. I can't know which one, but I'm sure it was that.
Jerk Guy, can Chris Collins turn Northwestern into the Duke of the North?
Well, maybe what present-day Duke is, who knows? Because present-day Duke's going to have trouble with transfers. But no, there's not the NIL interest. There's not the no.
No. No. Last one from the Jerk Guy. Who is the next addition to the Big Ten?
Oh, it's a really good question. I don't know. My guess is it's North Carolina. That would be my guess. If not Northern Michigan, North Carolina is the school that would fit. We appreciate all of you and all your questions for producing our show. thanks to Front 43 and Cask & Company if you're looking for a place this weekend. Good place to go. Same for Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Thanks to our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app or just swing on by on I-94 in Battle Creek. Check out Dacey's Tap Room and Sportsbook. We will be back next week, early next week, Monday, and talk about what happened over the weekend. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.